welcome to the Following On podcast with me, John Norman. Well, India have won the fourth T20 against England by 8 runs to bring the series level at 2 apiece, with a decider to play on Saturday. England winning the toss, putting India into bat. That was it, wasn't it? England were going to win the match. No, that's not how it went at all. The hosts posted 186 from their 20 overs. And whilst England looked to be on course, they lost Bairstow, Stokes and Morgan in quick succession. The pendulum swinging back to India. Then Jofra Archer stood up with a little cameo in the final over, which made the hosts sweat, but India just about got home in the end. And following on today, current England bowler Kate Cross, former England internationals Matt Pryor and Gareth Batty join me to look back at a brilliant game actually, and an impressive one for India. Jofra Archer with a 4-wicket haul, some swashbuckling hitting from Jason Roy and Ben Stokes, and then India applying the squeeze. We'll also hear from both captains live from the middle, and an England player too. You're listening to Following On here on TalkSport 2. Well, we asked for a good game and we got one. As I mentioned, England winning the toss and deciding to chase. India getting off to a decent start thanks to Yadav, one of 2 changes from India. He actually top scored with 57 from 31, 6 fours and 3 fours in there, or rather 6 fours and 3 sixes in there. And innings of note from Pant, who made 30, and Iyer 37. Jofra Archer 4 for 33. India posting 185 for 8. And to be honest, there was a period in the 20 overs where India looked like they weren't favourites to win the match, notably when Johnny Bairstow and Ben Stokes were at the crease, but they bowled particularly well. Sunday Washington aside, who was expensive, and in the end wrapped things up. Thakur 3 wickets, and also wickets for Panja and Shahar back in the side. Kate Cross is alongside me, and well, as I say, we asked for a good game. We got one today.
Yeah, it was just the game that the series needed, didn't it? And we're going into that 5th game now as a decider, which is really exciting.
What really interests me is the fact that India won this match using players that, whilst not unheralded, especially if you follow the IPL, there were relative failures, weren't there? Sharma 12, Rahul again struggled, Kohli was out stumped for 1. They relied on the likes of Yadav playing in his second game, but he didn't bat in the first one. 57, Rishabh Pant, we know a lot about him, but still a young man. He wasn't in the T20 side when India toured Australia in December, 30 from 23. And Shreyas Iyer, who hit 67 in the first T20 and hit 37 today. And, you know, essentially it was India's less heralded batsmen that set the game up, and it was India's unheralded bowlers that sealed it as well. I know that Panja is, he's a world star, but he hasn't bowled a great deal of late. His 4 overs went for just 16. And Thakur, despite a little wobble at the end, 3 from 42. Shahar back in the side, 2 for 32. So essentially, considering it was England's Bairstow and Stokes and Roy, 3 guys we know a lot about, it was the lesser players for India that beat the big players for England.
Yeah, and good teams set themselves around things like that, don't they? They don't always want your top names to be standing up and performing under pressure. The best teams in the world and the teams that win the big global tournaments are the ones that have people chipping in at different stages of tournaments, and that's exactly what India did today. That, Shreyas Iyer, for me, that first shot that he played through the covers was he just looked like he's been playing international cricket his entire life, and I think that's a frightening prospect as an England fan, to have an Indian team like that, some young players who've got that confidence, and I think that stems a lot of it from the IPL, like you said.
Let's go right back to the beginning, Gareth Batty, because, with spin bowling, is there the element of surprise is certainly something that spinners make the most of. Now, Rashid's now bowled in 4 T20s, opening the bowling in 3 of them. That was a massive surprise in the first one, less of a surprise today. First ball hit for 6. And it was India who brought in a bit of a surprise today. Shahar, whose 4 overs went for 35 and picked up 2 wickets as well. So is there something to take from that? I mean, Rashid didn't bowl badly at all. But possibly, with India knowing what to expect, it meant that when it happened, they were ready for it a little bit more than they were in the first T20.
Possibly, but I would go more the execution for Rash. That first ball just went up out the hand, and it was to wonderful players. You only need to miss by a foot. Even though he's one of those bowlers where he is prepared to get it up out the hand and sort of challenge the batsman with his flight and deception off the surface as well, it was just a bit too easy to stand and hit. Whereas in previous games, actually, his first ball has been a bit more, he's driven it into the surface and made them actually have to play more back foot than just a front foot sort of fullish ball. So he put himself under a bit of pressure, basically, is what I'm saying. But no, I felt that the rest of the innings he bowled beautifully. I mean, the ball that he got Kohli with is absolute class. Draws him down the wicket with that flight out the hand. But the skill is getting the ball to drop, and it dropped literally off the cloud and spun basically over leg stump. It was beautiful. But Chalal, for me, spins it both ways, tall, drives it into the surface. A bit more of a modern 2020 type spinner as opposed to a classical Rashid or Yadav, the left-arm version that we see sometimes play for India. I think he's going to be a pretty good sort of addition to that Indian unit.
We always talk about great bowling partnerships, Matt Pryor. Mark Wood and Jofra Archer, are they going to be up there in T20 cricket alongside your old mate Stuart Broad and Jimmy Anderson, Gough and Caddick? Is it going to roll off the tongue in quite the same way? 5 wickets between them again today, and quite brilliant at times and breathtaking in equal measure.
Yeah, again, it's one thing doing it once. You've got to keep doing it, but consistency is key in international sport. And Mark Wood, for me, bowling consistently fast, but consistently accurate as well. All well and good bowling quick, but these guys, they deal with quick bowling. It's the areas he's putting it, it's the game plans he's sticking to. It feels like he really knows his game. He knows his go-to delivery, stock delivery. He's obviously got the short ball. He's got pace in abundance, which is fantastic. And then, as you say, John, you bring Jofra Archer into it as well. It's for Owen Morgan, the England captain, to have that in his armoury is huge, hugely significant. It's something England have. We always spoke about the England batsmen needing to hit boundaries. We were never very good at hitting boundaries, and Morgan changed how England batsmen, one-day batsmen played, and 2020 batsmen played. We've now got that. We've got that firepower in the batting. Adil Rashid with the spin, Moeen Ali if you need that. As well, but we've always been looking for who these quick bowlers, who's the Shoaib Akhtar's, the Brett Lees, those types of bowlers, and here we are. We've got them. Mark Wood, Jofra Archer, absolutely fantastic.
There was a feeling that England were in control of their own destiny, especially when Stokes and Bairstow were at the crease, and then very, very quickly it changed. Sam Curran coming in at 7. Does that feel like one position too high for you? I'll start with you, actually, Bats. I mean, you know very, very well indeed, but. There's a lot of pressure. You were talking before the match about you think Owen Morgan's just testing him a little bit. And he came on to bowl at the 9th over on match day 1. He opened the bowling match day 2 when England lost the toss. Over number 11 in match day 3. And today, Owen Morgan kept him back until the 13th over. He bowled 2 overs and then he has to come in at 7 as well. I mean, it's an ask, isn't it?
Yeah, they're really tough times to come in and be up to speed with the game situation. I think up until this game, his bowling has been thumbs up for me. I think he's got it just right. But even today, he showed. His first one, great shot, 6 out of the ground. Next ball, it's out. He just has that knack of taking wickets, and that's why Morgan likes him. He also has a knack with the bat of just from nowhere, just pinning one out of the ground. So if you're saying your luxury selection, where you're going to maybe use him for 1 or 2 overs, and maybe you don't need too many runs, but an impact, so let's call it an impact player, you're basically saying that Sam Curran and Moeen Ali are kind of your guys that you're going to look at to bat at 7 and 8, depending on balance of team. And they're basically going to do a similar sort of job, just one's an off-spin and one's a left-arm swing bowler, both left-handed batters.
I don't know much about Sam Curran, to be honest, but I've seen him in the IPL. We've spoken about how much of an IPL fan I am, but he's opened the batting for Chennai. And he's got that versatility, and I feel like he's the kind of player that thrives off a challenge and, really enjoys that and likes to stand up to that. So I don't think 7's too high for him. I just think he's not had much game time. I think we spoke about that during the game about Owen Morgan not having much game time. So for Sam to come in at 7 and be under that pressure, anyone would struggle with that. I don't care how good you are. I don't care what your stats are. I think that pressure naturally will create will make you play full shots. But I don't think that 7's too high for him.
Let's ask the England captain. Well, not that specific question, maybe, but Owen Morgan joins us. Actually, no, we could throw to the England captain, Owen Morgan, who's speaking to the World Feed.
The swing and momentum of the game went back into India's favour, and then the last over, minus a few balls, obviously made it interesting. And obviously our journey, trying to learn as much as we can along this series, and progression for the World Cup in 7 months' time is important. I think upon reflection, I think initially we're very happy at the halfway stage, knowing that the dew was around. The ball didn't offer a great deal of turn, and we're in control for a lot of the game. I think the big overs in the game for us in the chase were probably 16, 17, where we lost in and around there. We lost.
Well, we just lost Owen Morgan. Someone hasn't paid the bills. And, well, look, let's ask a question. What lessons did Owen Morgan learn today, Matt?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know we just spoke about Sam Curran, but for me it was before that. And I think what Owen was going to go on to say was Johnny Bairstow dismissal, Ben Stokes dismissal, Owen Morgan dismissal. That for me was the game. That was the crucial point. Those three guys need to get England closer. And then you let Sam Curran come out and he's got 2 overs or an over to go and chase, not that many. Those guys, that was the crucial period of the game. And I think if Owen Morgan's in that dressing room, he's looking around and he's saying, right, that's the bit we didn't get right today.
But also you could look at Jason getting 40 again. You kind of saying, just take the game another 4 or 5 overs before you try and take on a higher risk, a higher percentage risk option. And get us, and he'll know that. He's not telling anybody that they don't know it. And it's such a fine balance, 2020, that you have to be positive, but you also have to play the percentage.
Yep. Roy 40, Johnny Bairstow 25, Roy 40 of 27, Johnny Bairstow 25 of 19, Ben Stokes 46 of 23. One of those guys, senior player, has to go on. Chasing 185, 186 to win. One of those guys has to go on, I think.
Well, it shows. If one of those guys gets 57 like Yadav did, we win the game.
Is it a case they're all kind of waiting for somebody else to do it, do you think?
You would hope not. Not in that kind of a team. And world-class teams don't do that kind of thing. And Owen Morgan always talks about responsibility and responsibility of his players. And I think you've got enough senior players in that team to be able to stand up to those challenges. So you would like to think that's not the case. Let's
not also forget India are a fantastic T20 side. They sprung a couple of surprises, 2 changes from match day 3, and of course England hadn't come up against the likes of Shah, and Pandya bowled particularly well as well, really strangling things, because Washington Sundar did have an off day. He was expensive. Whilst he was bowling, it looked like it was England's game, but they got the personnel within there, they got the experience, and when it came to it, those really close moments, it was India that squeezed England, even though of course at the beginning we thought, well, win the toss is going to hand England a huge advantage.
Let's not underestimate what an amazing win that is for India. And I mean, for the whole squad, for Virat Kohli, for their preparation for the World Cup. They've lost the toss, they've had to bat first, so they have to win from potentially a disadvantage in the first place. Virat Kohli's spoken about having the big squad. He's used young players, right? Let's see what you've got. We spoke before the match about, yes, you have your plan A, but what does plan B, C, D look like? Even at the end there, Kohli, I don't know if he was injured or wasn't feeling well, but he was off the pitch. He had Rohit Sharma captaining the last few overs. Now, is that a plan to say, right, option A's gone, now we're option B, option Rohit, you're in charge. The crucial overs, how are you going to manage it? They tested players, and those players most importantly, those players stepped up. It wasn't Kohli scoring 70 off 40. It was the young lads coming in and showing what they can do. So for India, this was a massive, massive win and a massive tick in the box.
Yeah, I think Morgan talks about winning the critical moment to be a good white ball team. And I think the critical moment, and it's easy to look at on reflection, was the over that Thakur bowled where we lost Stokes and Morgan together. We just lost Bairstow maybe 6 or 7 balls before. That's the critical moment for me where you say, OK, let's steal a few runs, let's extend this period. And then could we have sort of taken the pressure a little bit better as you're going down and not expecting more bowling all-rounders to be hitting and scoring those runs? You're basically saying one of the guys that's in is going to take more responsibility to allow them to have that free flow of the bat and not have as much pressure on them.
Do we read anything into the fact that Morgan sent Stokes in ahead of him? I mean, you're talking about Sam Curran needing a bit of game time as well. There's been a bit of conversation about the fact Stokes hasn't had much game time. Do you think there's something that we could see again in the fifth T20? Do you think that Curran might be advanced up? I mean, Morgan is that kind of selfless guy.
Just thinking about the team that they'll go for in the fifth T20 now, because you would think that this was Morgan's best team. He needed to win this game to win the series. So is this his best team? Is he going to go unchanged into that fifth T20? If not, we spoke about this earlier at the start of the game. Could we get Stokes up high? We talk about Josh Buttler being one of our best batters, facing the most balls at the top of the innings. Ben Stokes is arguably up there with Josh Buttler as well. Can we get him facing more of the majority of the balls to, give England a better chance?
Matt, do you think it's? Is this good? It's essentially, Owen Morgan's run rate, in terms of run rate, he's as good as anybody in the world game. You could make an argument it's him that should be further up the order. If he wasn't captain, would that decision be made? Is that the kind of very slight tinkering England are going to be doing with that World T20 in mind?
Yeah, I think, again, like we just spoke about India, you have option A, B, C, D. I think that's what Owen needs to find out from his top order. I mean, going into this series, England were pretty set. 1, 2, 3. Owen had even said himself, we're talking about the Alex Hales topic, and he said, well, there isn't a space for him right now. We're set. We've got guys. Where is he going to fit in? Now, roll on a few games. It's amazing how quickly it changes. I mean, the one player we should mention is David Milan again. And I know, Batsy, you'll be very keen to discuss this. I mean, what was he, 14? I mean, he used the number of balls again. You can't have that guy coming in at 3, using that many balls and then getting out. That's the crucial bit. If you're going to take that time and use the deliveries, fine. But then you've got to go on and make the score. Because otherwise, all you're doing is putting more pressure on 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, which is kind of what Kate touched on there, that you're basically saying Ben Stokes could bat there. And then you have another option to get somebody else in the team. And it might be a Moeen Ali that might be that guy that then fulfills a role at 7 and lengthens you're batting somewhere else with Sam maybe going in at 8. I'm not entirely sure about the logistics of it, but I just think you have to marry up how you are going to get the right people in the right slots. And you basically can break the game down into thirds. Your first third, second and third, and then you've got 2 overs tax-free where you're almost saying that's your free-flowing option to the game. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just suggesting that we have options. And if we are... and Ben Stokes is world-class. He's quite amazing. Do we get the best out of him, batting him where he's batting at the minute? The caveat to that, the add-on to that is, are we getting the best out of our captain, who is a wonderful T20 player? He is doing the selfless thing to get his team into a better prepared position, but at a cost of what to him is my question. Because he's a wonderful player, and he's got better and better in the last 2 years. As we've sort of gone around the world covering England, he's got better and better, and I think he's a wonderful white ball player. Arguably, consistently our best.
Let's take a little look at India, of course, because... at times it felt like they needed a strike bowler. That was mentioned in commentary. Jasprit Bumrah can come back into that side. And when you add him to that side, they're already a fearsome foe. But when you add someone like him, then suddenly they just jump up another notch, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. You'd have him in your starting 11 any day, wouldn't you? And I would say they've missed him this series, but in a way they've not, because they've given the likes of Bhuvaneshwar Kumar the opportunity to be that strike bowler, and I thought he was just exceptional today. I thought he read the pitch really well. He changed. I spoke earlier, in the first couple of overs on commentary, about how he went from trying to swing the ball to immediately going to his leg cutters, and that was ultimately the downfall of Josh Buttler, because he went one too many trying to hit boundaries. But yeah, it's a great opportunity when you've not got your best players there, because it gives younger, more inexperienced players the opportunity to come and have a go and do that role, because like we've said, there's injuries, things happen, tournaments aren't plain sailing, especially if you get into the latter stages of those tournaments. So yeah, you want all your players firing at the right time. And
do you think that England are going to look back at their tours to South Africa, their tours to India, people like Sam Billings and Reece Topley, even Tom Curran, have sat and not played Moeen Ali as well, sat and watched a lot of cricket, and here we are. We don't really know where they are. India, on the other hand, know exactly how their, for better word, fringe players are going, and that surely is going to be a strength for them moving forward.
It is, and that's why I think it was such a key day for India, because everything Kohli wanted to do, he's achieved in winning this game. Obviously, there's still a series on the line, and if Owen Morgan and this England team go on to win the next match and win the series, it's the first time in, I don't know how long, India haven't won a 2020, 2 years. 2 years. First time in 2 years that India would not have won a 2020 series. That's massive. That's massive for England. That builds confidence. Winning is a habit. We spoke about that. And I think that was... Owen Morgan as England captain, that's his target. He wants to win. He doesn't want to sacrifice a win to trial things. Now, if they end up going on to lose the series, that's where we'll start going, well, he should have tried things. If he goes on and wins, brilliant, well done Owen Morgan, you're a superstar captain.
Let's have a word with Ben Stokes, who joins us from Ahmedabad. Ben, thanks for joining us on Talk Sport 2. Did that game feel like it was in your grasp when yourself and Johnny were batting?
We learn from experiences and we don't dwell on it. We take situations like that, we'll go away as individuals, we'll assess it, and we'll become better players from it. And
personally for you, was it good just to have a little bit more time at the crease? I mean, you've come in quite late in the innings on occasion in this series. You went ahead of the captain, Owen Morgan, today. Not did you prefer it, but did you feel you benefited from just having a little bit more time to get into your game?
I think me and Morgs, especially in the T20 format, we've been quite versatile with at 5 and 6, and when you're chasing a total like that, Morgs is a much better player to be able to come in and hit those big shots straight away. So there's a lot of thinking that goes into it, whereas he feels that. I'm better off at starting an innings if there's longer to play when we're batting. So look, me and him are very versatile, and Morgs makes the call. Who goes in who goes in a situation if it's me or him.
And what about the strength that India possess? I mean, a lot of these players will be unfamiliar with TalkSport 2 listeners or those watching on the TV, but you would have come up against them in the Indian Premier League. And when you look at the players that essentially won the game for India today, they possess some real talent and in numbers.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who I've always thought is a fantastic player is Surya Kumar Yadav. I played against him in the IPL and watched him in the IPL over the last few years. And it proves how strong India's squad is when it takes someone of his quality to take so long to get an opportunity. But I've always rated him very highly. He played very, very well. He played a match-winning innings for India. But yeah, India have got great depth in their squad, and they've got fantastic players.
Owen Morgan has been talking about learning about the test. Well, I suppose 2-2 with 1 to play. That's the position that you really are going to find out a lot, aren't you, with that final T20 set up as it is?
Yeah, I mean, it's great news for the series. It's always great when you become, you go into the last game of a series and whoever wins takes a trophy home. And I think also what is a huge benefit for us is that it's a big pressure game. If we'd won tonight, we wouldn't be going into the next game with that pressure on. But that's what we want. We want to be in those pressure environments, and the more times that we get put under pressure as a team, the more it's going to benefit us, especially when we've got the T20 World Cup coming up.
Brilliant stuff. Ben, thanks for joining us on the show. We look forward to seeing how it all pans out. Kate Cross, Gareth Batty and Matt Pryor here. Just to look ahead briefly before we finish up to that final match, I'm guessing, Kate, that the team that we see in that 5th T20, I mean, Owen Morgan does like springing a surprise, will be very similar to the one we've seen in the 4 matches so far.
Like I said, yeah, I think that he's gone with his best team today, and I think you can't really go too far away from wanting to play that team again. You can't bring Moeen Ali in at this stage, I don't think. Personally, I wouldn't, but like you said, he does like to spring a surprise, so I'm just going to sit on the fence.
That's fine. You'll be back for the match, so we'll find out. Bats, I mean, it probably will be as you were, but they talk about learning. The pressure will be on, even if not in front of a full house, but 2-2, that one to play. Essentially, it's what you want as well. It is disappointing when you get to the final match and there's not too much to play for. But the likes of Reece Topley and Moeen Ali will probably have to wait a while longer.
Yeah, same for me. And I think the reason why I think Morgan will say, look, this is the team that's got us to 2-2, which is bordering on quite a magnificent performance if we can get over this last hurdle. And he likes that. He likes his team to stand up. He likes to grow people within winning series, because obviously it adds to the confidence. It adds to the building the player up for the big events. So look, there's a lot of talk around both captains saying we're building and so on and so forth. I think Morgan plays the same team, and he wants to invest in these guys because he feels like these are the guys who potentially are the ones who are going to be the difference with us winning the World Cup and not.
And I suppose, Matt Pryor, when you find yourself in a position when you're 130 for 3 and you need 55 from the last 5 overs, you've got 2 set batsmen at the crease, you just make sure one of them is there at the end.
Yeah, as Ben Stokes said, that was the crucial element. You needed one of those players there at the end. I think England will be bitterly disappointed with that loss. I think they got themselves into a really good position to go on and win. But I would imagine Owen Morgan going back to the team for the final game, he will play whatever changes he might make. He will go into that last game with what he perceives as the strongest 11 to win it, I believe. And the way I think he'll be positioning this is the World Cup. This is the World Cup final. We're playing against India in a one-off, winner takes all. Here we've got our perfect experience. I want to take my best 11. Let's go win that World Cup final.